I was very committed to only using local fruit. And Erin said, you should try passion fruit. It's going to be good. You should get over yourself. It's going to be delicious. And she was right.
I didn't say you should get over it.
I
If you didn't, maybe you should have.
I should have.
Makes the story funnier. Packing up my gear and headed to Southern Oregon's beautiful Applegate Valley to a place I've never been before, Blossom Barn Cidery. I met the owners, Erin and Jeremy, several months ago at Plaisance Ranch. We were chatting, sipping wine, and I instantly liked them. When I launched Hungry for More of the show, I knew I wanted to have them on. So here we are. I'm dying to know more about their story, how this whole operation works, and really how it all got started. I have lots of questions.
I'm originally from Southern California, or Orange County, LA, have family all over Southern California, and Jeremy is at the other end of the state.
West Sonoma County.
So 2 California kids.
Yep.
Where'd y'all meet?
College at Willamette University in Salem, Oregon. Oregon always had my heart, I think, because of the forests and just like the outdoor life here. I saw that and I knew that I wanted to be a part of that. And so I married the farm boy.
We had a small farm. My dad ran a wholesale nursery doing mostly 4-inch perennials. And my mom worked as a teacher's aide. But I was really involved in 4-H and raised animals, and we had a huge garden, and we put up a lot of stuff every year. So my mom's a master food preserver, and so sauerkraut, apple juice, tomato sauce, that kind of stuff.
All the jellies and jams.
Jellies and jams in large quantities. And that was always been kind of at the back of my mind about something that I loved and appreciated was, rendering abundance into things that are delicious that can be shared. So that's been kind of the guiding principle for here too, is that make it feel like you're visiting your friend's family farm.
We've been blessed to have your mom teach us some of those skills, but there's a lot more. She's 91 now, and so and she's still doing some of it, but there's a lot more we need to learn from her,
So was there ever a question of moving back to California to be close to family, or?
No, and now they're all here.
We told them we weren't coming back, so they were fully informed.
Right. My folks bought this place.
And they asked us, they said, any chance you're going to leave Oregon? We said no. So they're like, okay, we'll look for places in Oregon. So the whole family came up.
Mm-hmm.
20 years in Eugene, and you're happy, obviously.
Yeah.
Eugene, you're doing the things.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Why Southern Oregon? Why move down here?
Yeah, why, Jeremy?
Yeah. It was definitely not anything that we really seriously considered. I mean, we loved this place, and we loved parts of Southern Oregon. We've been rafting the wild and scenic section of the Rogue River for a couple of decades by that point. We had a lot of appreciation for being down here and being on this piece of ground, in particular, right where we are right now.
Visiting and seeing what your parents have done with the place and the stewardship that they had with the property was really impressive and inspiring. This property, so we've loved this piece of property and spending time with the family here. And Jeremy's dad has fostered an amazing garden here on the property that he's still very much a part of.
Yeah, we hadn't had it in the plan necessarily to move here, but my mom had the foresight in her late 70s. They had as many as 40 sheep on the property, after lambing. And my dad had a massive garden, and it was one year in particular that it was a tough lambing year that stretched on for a really long time. And we lost a couple of ewes, we lost a few lambs. It was a lot of late nights in the mud. And in the winter, and then that next summer, the garden was just incredibly abundant. And my mom, in the middle of a really hot summer in a hot kitchen in her late 70s, putting up literally hundreds of pounds of tomatoes, she's like, "What are we doing? What is the plan? This is fine right now, but this can't go on forever." So she came to us, my sister and I, and then my sister's husband and Erin, and said, "What do you guys want to do with this place? Do one of you guys want to move here and take over the operations? Should we just sell it? What should we do? We had a long conversation amongst the two of us and with my sister, and we decided that we did want to keep the property. And what did that mean? We needed to do something with it. It's 15 acres, it's exclusive farm, and it can't just feel like a hobby farm. We didn't want to continue to do that. And the sheep operation was not profitable at all. I mean, it was breaking even, but there's a lot of work to do to break even.
Totally.
So we decided we would do something else, and we thought for a hot minute about doing another winery since we're in the heart of the wine country, but quickly dismissed that out of hand.
We understood we didn't have the capital for something like that. Your dad had been growing really beautiful lavender here, so we thought about a lavender farm. We were coming from the Willamette Valley, and there's a lot of hop farms up there. The hops require so much water, and we knew that in time with climate change that water's going to be an issue. So we thought that wasn't the right direction, and so we were actually inspired by a brewery up in our area in Eugene, and they had it on a family farm. The parents had been selling vegetables at the farmer's market for years, and the sons started a brewery, and families would come out and eat pizza, drink beer, the kids would be playing in the lawn.
It just felt clearly agricultural. And people have such an incredible nostalgia for being on a farm. They love it. They want to see the animals. They want to see where whatever the thing is that's being grown, whether it's grapes or pears or lavender or whatever it is. And, we wanted to capitalize on that and decided that was the model we would shoot for.
I gave the university 2 years notice that we were going to be moving and I was going to work remotely, and some of my research was already online. And I put in my remote work agreement to the university in January of 2020 with a plan to put our house on the market in Eugene and move to this farm in May 2020. And so
Wow, really?
So everything was on the schedule that we were operating on. We didn't change anything because of the pandemic. We sold our house in a month, and we moved down here May 19th, 2020.
It's definitely lucky, and I started doing the farmers markets during the pandemic, which turns out was an amazing time for the growers markets because so many people were excited to shop outside. And many cideries at the time had leaned really heavily into draft because of the pub scene in Oregon is very strong, and they suffered enormously because their business model basically had the rug pulled out from under them, whereas we were all in package for the most part, and we were selling by hand to build our brand. I think that was the biggest thing that we did right. They actually drive people to our wholesale accounts. And because
they drive people here.
And they drive people here.
Too.
Pretty much every weekend there's somebody that comes in that I'd either just met or is a long-term customer at the growers market that comes out for the first time. It's a tremendous amount of work and it's a grind, but it provides structure to our business, a cash flow to our business. And we started it at a time when those markets were particularly vibrant.
I think also it integrates us into the community big time. People meet Jeremy, know Jeremy, and then they come in here and they're like, who are you? We thought Jeremy was gonna be here. No. Yeah, totally. But the farmers markets really anchor us in the community, and we have great partnerships and friendships with the other farmers, with a greater Applegate, the community, business-oriented group here in the Applegate Valley. So it's really opened up a lot of doors. So I think the farmers market is by far the smart, and that represents the majority of our sales. If you look at a pie chart of our sales, by dollars, it's at the farmers market.
We need a place for people to come taste our cider. The farmers market's a great model, but you wanted this too, right?
Definitely. I mean, that was the goal all along. So we were able to kind of get into cider making because we had a relationship with Wiltridge Creek Winery. And so we worked with them to produce our first few batches exclusively there. Before we had any equipment, before we had a place for people to come, before we had the ability to put anything in package, we had no tanks, we had no fermentation equipment at all. So we were able to break into the market by working with them. And now we've gotten to the point where we have our own tanks and we do our own production. But we didn't have to, we could test the market, we can get into it without investing a lot in equipment. And we were always juicing here, so we were growing fruit and we were juicing the fruit here. So we've always touched every single piece of fruit that's gone into it, and mostly pears, but a few apples too. So that has always been the model that we wanted to do, was to use local fruit that we juiced ourselves. And many other cideries don't do that. They're buying fruit or juice from Central Washington State that is in cold storage, that is not grown locally. And we didn't want to do that. We wanted to use local fruit only. And because this is such a historic pear growing area, and we had tried perry from Normandy and Brittany and Southwest England and the Three Counties area, and we knew how beautiful perry was and how distinct it was from apple-based cider, and that there is such an incredible love of pears here. You know, the most popular debit card from Rogue Credit Union is flowering pears with Table Rock in the background, which is an absolutely iconic image of the Rogue Valley.
Yeah.
You know, and so every farmer's market, somebody tells me a story about riding their horses and picking wild asparagus in the pear orchards, or setting smudge pots during high school, or, you know, running in the packing line of Harry and David, or my grandfather used to have a pear packing house, you know, all that stuff. And people love pears here.
It's our roots.
Yeah.
Yes.
Those are our roots in Southern Oregon, pears.
So we've got 7 different ciders on tap right now, which is unique. We don't usually have that. We usually have 6 ciders on tap, and Jeremy recently made a blackberry cider, which is really great. So blackberry perry, with blackberries from here on the property.
Mm-hmm. So all cider is wine and all perry is cider. Perry is just a special type of cider that's made mostly or entirely with pears.
And cider is basically a fruit wine.
So Front Porch is our flagship. That is all made with the Royal Riviera Camise pears from Harry and David. The barrel aged is made with Bosque and Camise pears, the 2 classic Rogue Valley eating pears. That then we barrel age in French oak for 30 months. And then the estate perry, that one is the one that's made with the perry pears that we grow here on farm. These 2 are back sweetened berry ciders. So one has strawberries in it and the other has blackberries in it. Perry is a hard cider that's made out of pears instead of apples. So the standard is 90% or more pears as the base of the product makes it a perry. And that's different than a pear cider. Pear ciders can be made with 99% apples with like pear essence added back at the end. So you see pear ciders, and typically the number 1 ingredient is apples, just like a cherry cider or watermelon cider or whatever the case might be, right? It's made with apples, and perry is made either mostly or exclusively with pears.
And I would add too that there are some cider and perry aficionados who would say that the type of perry that we make is mostly modern perry, because we're making it mostly with dessert fruit and just some specific fruit that's that we have here in the orchard that are perry pears. So basically cider fruit that tastes horrible but makes beautiful cider. Whereas the real purists would say that perry is really only made with perry pears. And
we only have one perry that is made exclusively with perry pears that we're making every year from our own fruit.
There's always a critic.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
It's clearly very important that you were using pears that are either grown right here or local.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And there's fewer and fewer orchard-based cideries like ours, and I think that there's one brand new cidery in Southern Oregon that's just opened that is similar, but otherwise I think it's just the 2 of us really from Eugene down.
Yeah, there's definitely a few craft cideries, small production cideries that are using local fruit. They're building relationships with small growers and stuff like we have done. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, most cider is made out of apples from Washington State, and honestly, apples that you wouldn't eat. they're low grade, low quality apples that are bruised or otherwise not perfect.
And when we do buy fruit, we're getting it from a little company you might know called Harry and David. So, so the fruit we get from them is not only edible, it's,
Spectacular.
it's take a picture of it and mount it on your wall, beautiful. So.
The majority of all of this is coming from the two of you.
Yes.
Yeah, our brains for sure. Our brains. Jeremy's got a great palate, so he's able to better, pick up on certain flavor profiles and our tasting notes and all that kind of stuff. And then I'm the aesthetic, eye candy, branding awareness person. So yeah, I gave myself the title of creative director.
And the tasting room looks beautiful because of Erin's design sense. And she worked really well with particularly the woodworker that used a tree that fell on the property for the trim around the doors and the windows, the tables, the bar. All that came from a single piece, and we had limited wood, and she worked with him to design the way that the trim around the windows here works.
Thank you, Charlie Saunders.
Charlie Saunders, he's amazing. But just as an example of making something look really beautiful, and we had, a lot of the art in here is from people. Well, all of it is from people we know.
Yeah, and then much of it was gifted to us too.
Yeah.
This tasting room is essentially an extension of our living room, and we see it as such. So we wanted it to feel comfortable in like our space. And actually, a lot of friends who come down from Eugene say, "This reminds me of your house in Eugene." I'm like, "Yeah, that's actually was a couch in our in our living room." We want it to feel, and because it is, an extension of our house and our guest space. So,
mission accomplished.
yeah, thanks. So that's the most true perry.
The most traditional.
Traditional that when you go to England, when you go to France, that's the most similar to what you'll taste over there for the traditional perries. There's some other sweeter perries that are made in England in particular, but that, is more in the tradition of
Very dry.
Trying. Yeah, very dry.
So good.
Yeah.
It's got a little bit of the tannin in there, you can tell.
And also so refreshing.
Yeah.
Do you encourage people to sniff and
Absolutely, all the same things.
swirl and
You don't, because it's carbonated. You don't really need to swirl.
comes out of your nose?
Yeah. But there's no wrong way. It's not a wrong way to enjoy it. So the barrel aged that lives in French oak for 30 months. And that's the most delicate and elegant of all the ciders we make. And that's the gold medal winning perry. So we took 2 of the 6 medals in the Northwest Cider Cup.
And the perry competition.
In the perry section, the perry categories. And so the 2 that you've enjoyed are the medal winning ciders so far, the estate and the barrel aged. The barrel aged won a gold and the estate won a bronze. But that category, the perry that won the high tannin perry category, won best of show.
This is
Out of 240 ciders.
Boom.
Yeah.
Brag it up. This is so delicious.
Yeah.
There's something about it that's very delicate. Did you say delicate? Yeah.
Maybe
Elegant,
a little earworm.
yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, just so, that's delicious. There's an element of surprise for people that are just like, I didn't expect it to be this good. And you're like, oh, thanks.
That's definitely happens all the time.
Sure.
And I think the biggest thing is that that the cider isn't very sweet, and that the fruit can shine without the sweetness, and but even like the barrel age, you wouldn't even necessarily know that was made from pears.
No.
You wouldn't, like the others, like Front Porch and Estate, you can taste pear in that, but the barrel age, you don't necessarily taste it. So this is light, easy drinking beverage that doesn't make you work too hard.
How do you know when they're ready to be picked?
When they start to drop, so when we're in the orchard, you can tell. And also, if you just take a pear and you lift it and the stem breaks, it's ready to be picked. So this is not quite there yet. And you want to pick, when you pick a pear, you want as much of that stem to remain as integral as possible, because the stem actually helps keep the pear fresh. And we cold store all of our fruit and we juice them in October. Mulched these trees with wool from our sheep. So we have the first 3 rows and the last 3 rows are all mulched with whole fleeces. And that really improves reduces the amount of water that we need to put down on the trees.
Interesting.
Cuts down on the weeding, increases nutrient cycling, And it's just generally a nice regenerative practice that we can do that's, all the material was produced here.
No kidding.
Yeah.
How'd you figure that out?
It was, we had, farmers never throw anything away, and there's no market for wool anymore. So my dad had stockpiled a decade worth of wool and in bags. And I noticed that that barn had mice and other rodents in it, and they don't touch the wool. I would think that they'd be all over it, right? Because it's soft.
Yeah, make a little house.
They don't like it because it has the oil, the lanolin and other natural sheep oils in it. They would love processed wool. They'd be all over that. But the raw wool, they don't touch it.
Interesting.
So I had noticed that, and then Erin was in Scandinavia in particular, they use this practice on their trees because they have poor soils, they have lots of sheep, and it's a way to kind of kickstart the tree's growth to have all these nutrients put on top of it that are locally available. So
amazing.
We decided we would do that too. So this row that we're coming into now has the oldest trees. These were planted in 2017. So this is the most productive section of the orchard. And these are 2 English varietals. This first one is called Barland. And the next one is Romanian, which is the absolute star of our orchard. It is a Tannenbaum, so it's really super tannic fruit. The fruit self-thins. So you can see these Barlands, they are just loaded and the fruit is small. And the amount of work required to thin this fruit would be so many hours. So I do thin a little bit, but I could thin more, but I just don't have time in the spring to thin it. But we get some branch breaking. This branch here broke because it couldn't support the weight of all this fruit.
Oh, wow. So will that fruit come off now, or? Yeah,
I need to pick it. It's still connected, the cambium's still connected, so that, the leaves haven't even wilted, but I definitely need to pick it. And obviously pruning these branches shorter and thinning the fruit would all be a benefit from not having that happen. But yeah, these are the Romanians here. And you can see they're big, much bigger than the Barlands. They're beautiful. They have this lovely mottling on them.
Yeah.
And you can see their clusters are generally 1 or 2, as opposed to 4 with the Barlands, for example. And so these are easy to pick, super productive. They produce every year, whereas many of the other pears are what's called biennial, where they produce really well one year and then they don't produce so well the next.
And it's just a risky business.
It is risky. Yeah, last April, we had a pretty serious frost and we lost 80% of the pears because that frost hit them when they were in bloom or when the pears were really small and they didn't have a chance. So any of the early season stuff basically didn't produce. These were planted, you can see these are a little smaller.
Yeah.
I lost this entire block from fire blight. So
oh no, really?
All of these trees, see all these small trees in here, every single one of them I had to replace over the course of a couple years. So there's several different varietals in here that I had to replace because I lost all these trees from fire blight. It's a total tree killer. So you can do everything right. You have lush, wonderful, fruit that's really growing really nicely, trees that are in really good condition. And that's perfect for fire blight. So in the spring, all the new growth is super susceptible to that bacteria.
I had people when I was leaving Eugene and people say, aren't you afraid? Aren't you gonna, and I was like, I've never been afraid for 1 second. I've always known that this is the right thing for us to do, that this property is the right place for us to be, and the property, the land here shows us that all the time.
There are moments where it's important for me to look up and remember where I am. And when I do feel a tremendous sense of pride in it because yes, I'm a Virgo and it's always the next thing. It's always working more to make more happen. But we've done a tremendous amount to make this all happen. You know, from the fencing and the parking lot and the building and the orchard, you know, the irrigation system, all those things are things that we've done in not very long. And so there is a major sense of pride in that we did this, and and people are coming here, and like Erin said, like, friends and neighbors show up, strangers come up and have a great time and tell us they love it.
Well, they become friends.
And they become friends and neighbors, right? Yeah. That is still provides us with a sense of wonder, you know, that we did this and it's working. You know, I will say that we feel that people have been sharing food and drink together on this piece of ground for thousands of years, right? And that sense of community comes through the ground here, you know, and we feel that very strongly, that we want to continue a tradition of community that goes back at least 15,000 years here, you know, so that we want that to continue, and we take that stewardship role very seriously, and we're proud when it works, you know, and proud when it happens, for sure.